In this video, we're going to start talking about some important terms for Chapter 1 of our class, and a lot of these terms will continue on into future chapters. So this is STA2023. This is a statistics class. The first question to answer is, well, what is statistics? We're going to say that statistics is the process of asking questions, organizing data, displaying data, and then analyzing data. It's basically problem solving. And so we're going to address these topics throughout our chapters. Chapter 1 will focus on asking questions. Chapter 2 will focus on organizing data and displaying that data. And then chapters 3 through 9 will be the big component of analyzing the data that we collect. To begin with, data, these are just the observations that are recorded. So whatever you get from groups of people or groups of objects, that will be your data. Then we look at the variables. These are the specific characteristics of the people or objects studied. So if we talk to a sample of TCC students and we ask about their GPA, the data would be all of those GPAs collected, and the variable is GPA. When multiple data are collected about a characteristic and then grouped together, the result is a data set or a sample. So collecting data from person after person after person, or object after object after object, leads to a sample. Now the thing to keep in mind is that there is always variation in statistics. Variation is the differences in data from multiple observations or experiments, which we'll get into in another video. So if I go out today and I talk to 50 students and I ask them what their GPAs are and I find that average GPA, and I do the same thing tomorrow with another 50 students, I'm not going to get the exact same average. There's going to be some variation from the first day to the second day. And if I were to do it again, I'm not going to get the exact same GPA as the exact same average. That's going to vary. And we've got to keep that variation in mind. Now, going back to this idea of variables, there are two kinds of variables that we'll look at initially in this statistics class. Those are numeric variables and categorical variables. So numeric variables describe quantities, how much of something. If the data can be described with a number and the average of these data have a meaning, then we're setting a numerical variable. So two characteristics: it has to be a number, and the average of all of these numbers, it has to have a meaning. Height, weight, and age are all numerical variables. So I could ask everyone in this class, what's your age? And you would give me a number. Let's say 22, 18, 36, 55. And I could find the average. The average age of a person in this class would have a meaning. But not all numeric responses are numeric variables. For example, zip codes are numbers, but they are not considered numeric because it doesn't make sense to find the mean zip code. So I could ask everyone in this class, what's your zip code? You could say, well, it's 32301, 32425, 31757. But if I average those zip codes together, well, that doesn't really have a meaning because zip codes aren't describing quantities, they're describing a quality, they're describing your location. And so it's not really a numeric variable. Same thing with phone numbers. If I ask people for their phone numbers, you're going to give me numbers, but the average phone number, well, that doesn't make sense. That's not going to tell me really about the class. All right? So if a variable is not a numeric variable, we classify it as a categorical variable. So categorical variables describe qualities. Zip codes would be categorical variables. Typically, if the data is described with a word or a category, then categorical variables are being studied. Your eye color, you would say it's blue, brown, green, hazel. Your hair color, blonde, black, red, brown. state of birth. You would give me a word for that. These are all considered categorical variables. And the type of variable that we're studying will have a key role in the type of display we use, as we'll see in Chapter 2. So let me wrap this video up with a quick example. Example 1 says, suppose a statistician wants to know about the ratio of males to females in a stats class. The statistician codes each male as a 1 and each female as a 0. The data set looks like the table below. Is the data being collected numerical or categorical, and then how do we know? So student number 1, they're a 1, that means they're a male. Student number 2, also a male. Student number 3 is a 0, so that's a female according to this key up here. 4 is a male, and then students 5 and 6 are female. So the data here, this data set, consists of numbers. However, this is not numeric data. This would be classified as categorical data, because what these 1s and 0s are really describing are qualities, male versus female. It's just a shorthand notation that we're using. Instead of having to write out male, male, female, male, female, female, we can save some time by writing 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. So this is categorical because, number 1, what we're describing here is the quality of gender, either male or female. And number 2, if we go back to the definition of numerical variables, while we are describing the data with numbers, the average doesn't have a meaning. If I added all of these up, the 1s and the 0s, give me 3, divided by 6 students, the average would be 0.5. Well, that doesn't have a meaning in this case. 1 is male, 0 is female, but 0.5 doesn't have any meaning. So this wraps up our terms video.